dudes. Welcome to Sense of Style. My name's Stuart. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to talk about my top 10 date night sexy fragrances that you want to wear to attract women. Bottom line is there are some fragrances that work a lot better than others. And unfortunately for people in the fragrance community, it's not always the kind we like. Fresh and clean is one kind, and then sweet and seductive is another. But fresh and clean fragrances usually are the best for attracting women. Jeremy Fragrance says that all the time, and he's right. I spent the last 3.5 years working with women. I work in healthcare. I work with women all the time. And I wear fragrances all the time. And there's very obvious. It's very clear. Fresh and clean. Not that sweet and seductive don't work, but they work better at a different time of year. But in general, we're talking about playing the numbers here. Fresh and clean work. Now, fresh and clean, I've got 6 fragrances that are fresh and clean, but I've divided them in 3 because there's one note in particular that is an absolute killer when it comes to attracting women. And it is the ambergris smell. That just works. Women smell it and they think you smell more masculine. And there are 3 ambergris-based fragrances that I'm going to talk about. What is ambergris? For starters, it's expelled from a sperm whale. It sounds really strange, but it's true. A sperm whale expels something. It floats atop of the surface of the ocean. It's surrounded by salt and sun, and it gets this sort of smell of the ocean. It's really sparkly and beautiful. In the 1800s, sailors thought it was the smell of the gods. And it hardens up, and then it washes ashore. Sailors pick it up, but it's worth an absolute fortune. Recently, scientists, since 2010, it's been available. Scientists have been able to narrow it down, the chemical component, and they created a chemical called ambroxan that smells exactly like ambergris, and it's a smell of the gods. It really is. So what are these fragrances? Well, the one that everyone talks about is Dior Sauvage. But I've also got 2 others that are also just as good. Prada Luna Rossa Carbon and Versace Dylan Blue. Now, my number 1 fragrance, even though this has the best performance, this is not my number 1 fragrance because everybody and their brother wears this. And it's well known that basically what the formula is for using ambroxan, you use tons of ambroxan, you use citrus, and then you use pepper. This doubled up on the pepper. This is very peppery. This is a very, very strong fragrance. And it lasts a long time and it projects really well. But, as I said, everybody smells like this, so you're not going to be original. Also, this is about $110 if you go to the discounters. I use FragranceNet. At the moment, this is $108 at FragranceNet if you use the codes. I have a link in my description with the latest code. $108. Now, this is my number 1 fragrance if you're wanting to attract women. This right here. I think this is massively underrated, underappreciated, because it smells like ambroxan, and fragrance reviewers, like myself, and I'll admit it, we're sick of ambroxan. We smell it all the time. We smell it on other people. We know the smell really well. It's been around for a while. But damn it, it works. So look, if I was, for myself or for work or 90% of the things I'm going to do, I would wear fragrances that I really like. But if I was going on a date, I promise you, I would wear either this or this. This is Luna Rossa Carbon, and I'll explain why. This has the same citrus, the same pepper, and the same ambroxan, but this has incense. So it's got a smokier, darker quality, and it smells super nice and a little bit more, different. You're not going to smell like every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Also, at the same place that I mentioned, Dior Sauvage, this is going for $45. This is $108. This is $45. There's a big difference. Now, this does not have the performance or the name quality. This is Dior. This is Versace. Versace's not as big a deal, but this is still very good performance. You'll get about 8 hours with this. It's more than enough of what you need. Now, for an older guy, this is what I recommend. Same citrus, ambroxan, and pepper. But this has lavender and some metallic notes, and it does what Prada does really well. It smooths out the whole experience. So this is a smoother, more mature ambroxan beast. But let me tell you, if I had to play the numbers when I'm dating, if I had to pick one, I would pick one of these three. There are other fresh and clean fragrances, though, that work really well as well. Acqua di Gio is the #1 selling men's fragrance of all time. It came out in 1996. And I have two fragrances that work better. This is Acqua di Gio Profumo. And this is sort of an updated version of the original Acqua di Gio. And this little dildo is Perry Ellis 360 Red. Now, I'm going to talk about this first. This is super inexpensive. This is very, very similar in performance and scent to Acqua di Gio, but it costs a fraction of the price. You can get this for like $20, $25 at the discounters. And the neat thing about this is it's a little spicier. Just a touch. It's got a little bit of cinnamon, but really it's just cheaper. It's cheaper and just as good. It's going to last just as long, and it's going to smell so similar. So if you like the original Acqua di Gio with no messing around, go with this one. Now, if you've got a little bit more money, this is not cheap, but this is Armani Acqua di Gio Profumo. This is an actual parfum, which means this has far more concentrated perfume oil than this, and most fragrances, quite frankly. So this is going to last about 8 hours, and that's really important when you're dealing with a citrus aquatic, which is what this is. The citrus aquatics tend to dissipate really quickly, and you lose the smell. This will last you 8 hours. That's rare. Not only that, this has an incense note that adds. It kind of updates the old Acqua di Gio scent a little bit. It's better. Its performance is stronger. The incense makes it more bearable to wear in the evening and a little bit more interesting. You're not going to smell like everyone else. Next up, we have something, if you're in fragrances, you'll know this. Club de Nuit Intense Man by Armaf. This is a clone of the most expensive selling niche fragrance in the world. It's about $350 American. It is Creed Aventus, but this is a very good clone. I actually get better performance with this than I do with other Creed clones. The only problem with this one is the opening is not good. It's about 3 or 4 minutes. Just let it settle and it'll be fine, and it lasts really long, and it smells awesome. It's super cheap. I think $40, $45 range, so it's a lot cheaper than Aventus. What Aventus and what this is basically pineapple, and which you get a fruity pineapple kind of feel, and then you get a smoky birch smell. So there's some woodiness and some fruitiness. Super, super great. And finally, when you're talking fresh and clean, you just can't go wrong with the OG. This is Bleu de Chanel Eau de Toilette. I'm keeping it really simple for you. This is a classic fragrance. You're dealing with ginger and citrus with a number of different woody notes that you get in the dry down, but it's just so well blended. It's a Chanel. It's a classic. This is the fragrance that started it all. The word blue fragrances existed, but as soon as this one came along, they started to be called blue fragrances because of this. This is an iconic fragrance. You can't go wrong with that. So now we're going to get to 4 fragrances that I think are really good sweet and seductive fragrances. Now, sweet and seductive fragrances tend to work better in cooler weather. And, within 6-8 weeks, fall's going to be here, at least in North America and Europe. I know there's some people here from other parts of the world. But, so let's get into sweet and seductive. And we're going to start with the king of sweet and seductive, La Nuit de l'Homme by Yves Saint Laurent. Now, the problem with this one, as everybody who knows fragrances knows, this one has been reformulated to death. It's very, very weak now. But what this is basically is cardamom, cedar, and lavender. That's the essence of this fragrance, with a emphasis on cardamom. But because it's watered down, you have to like overspray, and it's not cheap to begin with. They released Bleu Electrique, La Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Electrique, I think 18 months ago, and then they discontinued it. At least in North America, they discontinued it, and it's impossible to get in a lot of places. It captured the original performance and essence of this, but I don't know why they discontinued it, but they did. So I'm going to talk about a fragrance in that line that I think is a good substitute that I don't hear anyone talking about. This is La Nuit de l'Homme Eau de Parfum. Now, for whatever reason, this is not taken off. I think that's a mistake. I just purchased this not too long ago. What this is it's essentially this, but with leather and sweet tonka bean. So it is a sweeter, much more powerful version of this. I think the problem is if you take the two bottles and you sniff them, this smells syrupy, sweet, and this smells just kind of like your straight cardamom. And so people they smell the opening of this and assume that that's all they're going to get. I've been wearing this the last couple of days. You get a ton of cardamom once it dries down. You get a lot of sweetness in the open, but the original essence of La Nuit de l'Homme is here. I get it. And so if you're going for a La Nuit de l'Homme option, the best option for me personally right now would be the Eau de Parfum of La Nuit de l'Homme. Now the second sort of killer fragrance for sweet and seductive is Dolce & Gabbana The One. Now this is the Eau de Toilette. The Eau de Parfum is a lot more, well, it's more popular because it has better performance, but really this performance of this is awful, and the Eau de Parfum is just barely good enough. The one thing though, these are sweet tobacco style fragrances with some citrus. The one thing I've noticed about this is that the price of this has fallen dramatically lately, like just plummeted. So you can almost get two of these for one of the Eau de Parfum. I still think you should stick with the Eau de Parfum, but it's getting close price-wise. Another really good fragrance, and again, you'll see the note cardamom. This is Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Mâle Le Parfum. Now, this is the 54th flanker of the original Le Mâle. Like, they love putting stuff in this bottle. But what this does is modernize it. Actually, I think it does more than that. This, I've considered this only a hint of the original Mâle. The original Mâle was mint, lavender, and vanilla. Now there's sweetness in this. There's some, I think it's either vanilla or tonka. There's sweetness in this. There's some lavender. There's no mint, but there's tons of cardamom. This is much more of a dark fragrance. There's only a passing resemblance between this and the original Mâle, and that's a good thing because the original Mâle came out, like in the 90s. So it's time to update it, and this is a really good one. This was actually the #1 fragrance among Fragrantica voters in 2020. It was a fragrance of the year. So this is really nice. It's nice, dark, sweet, spicy mix. It's not a real parfum, though. It's an eau de parfum, but it's still got decent performance. And finally, I think a really, really good fragrance line for dating and for attracting women is the Armani Code line. This is a small bottle of Armani Code Absolu, which is actually, this is a parfum, so it's very concentrated. And the Armani Code line is based around, well, the main drivers of the Armani Code line are based around leather and something very sweet, like either vanilla or tonka. So it's sweet and leather. And this has those two things in abundance, and it also has some spiciness as well. This is like a spicy, up-to-date. This is a 2019 fragrance. The original Armani Code came out in 2006. So this is the up-to-date version. This is the most popular Armani Code. It's heavily concentrated. It's really nice, and the Armani Code is a good date-night line. Anyway, hopefully there's something in here that you like, either for summer or for winter. And nothing I'd like to do more than help guys out, if you're trying to find something for the women or for dating or whatever, because I know how hard it is. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.